Hi, I'm Cath. My channel is Made by Cath Craft, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favourite sewing pattern mashups that I've done. Hi there, I'm Cath. Welcome to my channel Made by Cath Craft. Thank you very much for joining me for my latest video. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of my favourite sewing pattern mashups that I've put together. I really enjoy mashing up different sewing patterns to create new garments. I think it's a lot of fun, a great way to get creative, and a great way to make a totally brand new garment using existing patterns you already have. So I'm a big fan of pattern mashups, and I'm actually currently co-hosting a pattern mashup challenge over on Instagram, and the challenge is called Sew Mashup. And I'm co-hosting it with a fellow YouTuber on Instagram who is Sally, Secret Life for Seamstress. I'll link her accounts down below in case you fancy checking her out. You probably already subscribed and follow her. Anyway, I'll put up some details of the Sew Mashup challenge that we're currently hosting. It's a really fun challenge, and I've done a separate video talking all about it, including sharing a pattern mashup I put together especially for the challenge. And I'll link that video up above in case you want to check it out. But I won't talk too much about the challenge in this video, but it has got me thinking about other pattern mashups that I've done in the past, and I thought it might be quite fun to put together a video sharing some of those pattern mashups I've done and the ones I particularly am pleased with. So in this video I'm going to share the garments, talk about the patterns I put together and how I went about combining them. But as usual, I'll start this video off with what I'm wearing today, and today I'm wearing a handmade garment, but it isn't a pattern mashup. It's a dress I made using this pattern here, which is the Charlie Caftan pattern by Closet Core Patterns. And it's a really lovely woven dress pattern that's perfect for warm weather, and it's quite warm here today. And what's great about this pattern particularly is you can just pull it on over your head. There are no zips or fastenings to it, and it's got a really pretty silhouette to it too. I'll show you the line drawings. So it's a woven dress pattern with this lovely deep V-neck at the front and kimono sleeves, and you can either make very deep loose sleeves or a slightly higher cut sleeve for a bit more coverage. And then there are a couple of different options at the front. All of the pattern options have this centre panel here, and you can either make a version with these sort of architectural pleats underneath, down to sort of just above the knee length, or you can make a shorter version or longer version with gathering at the front, and you can add waist ties that sort of pull round the sides of the panel as well to cinch in if you so wish. It's a really pretty pattern with a lovely silhouette to it, and perfect for warm weather because it's quite nice and loose and lightweight, and it comes in a great size range too. I've got the 0 to 20 version in the paper pattern format, but in PDF you can also get a 14 to 32 size range. And the version I made here, I made in this very pretty viscose fabric. This is quite an old make. I think I must have made it maybe 3 years ago, so I don't think this fabric is around anymore, but I think originally get it from Lamazi Fabrics, who I'll link below. But it's got this really pretty sort of blue base and these large scale florals with these sort of pops of coral and white on them. And I'll put a picture up of me wearing it. I made the above the knee length version and I added on the waist ties, and I went for the gathering at the waist, and I'll stand up a little bit so you can see how the centre panel looks. It kind of sits almost like it's an empire level, and it's just a really comfy, relaxed one to wear. I quite like that in warm weather it provides a bit of coverage for your shoulders, but it's also nice and loose and breezy so you don't get too hot wearing it. But that is what I'm wearing today, and now I'll move on to sharing with you some of my favourite sewing pattern mashups that I've put together. So I thought I'd start off with one of my older pattern mashups that I did when I was fairly new to sewing, and it was to combine two Tilly and the Buttons patterns to make a jersey dress. Two of my favourite Tilly and the Buttons patterns were used for this pattern mashup, and it's a dress I still really enjoy wearing today, and I've only actually made this mashup once, but whenever I wear this dress I really think I should make another version of this pattern mashup. But to make this dress I combined, on the top half I used this pattern here, which is the Agnes top pattern by Tilly and the Buttons, which is a really nice jersey top pattern with quite a simple silhouette and a scoop neck. I'll show you the line drawing so you can see. So it's quite a simple jersey top that's quite tight fitting. It's got negative ease built into this one. And you can sort of embellish it a little bit with this ruching at the front, or make these little puff sleeve version, which I've never actually done that version. I often just go for this really simple version here. And I wanted to make a dress combining this top with a skirt. And I used for the skirt a pattern from this book here, which is the Tilly and the Buttons stretch book. And I really love this book, and one of my favourite patterns in this book is the Freya top and dress, which I'll show you here. It's another jersey pattern, so worked really well combined with the Agnes jersey top. So the Freya top and dress is here. It's close fitting again with negative ease built in. It's got long sleeves. It's got this mock neckline here, which is one I really like. And the dress version sort of goes out into this A-line skirt. So for this mashup, I borrowed the A-line skirt of the Freya and combined it with the Agnes top. So I ended up with a sort of scoop neck, quite relaxed style jersey dress. I should mention in terms of sizing, both these patterns have the same size range. They go from a UK 6 to a UK 20 and up to a bust size. The largest bust size is 44 inches. And for these patterns, for me, I always go for a UK 8, which is their size 2. And that's designed for a bust of 32 inches, a waist of 26 inches and hips of 35 inches. And I'm 32, 26, 36. So that's just bang on for me on the bust and waist, and 1 inch smaller on the hips. But I have found, particularly with the Freya skirt, because it does sort of skirt out a little bit, I have been able to get away with not grading out on that size, and that's what I did for this dress here. So here is my pattern mashup dress. As you can see, it's got the scoop neck of the Agnes top, and I went for the long sleeves and just a simple plain sleeves without any ruching on the front. And then it's hard to show here, I'll put a picture up in a moment, but I've essentially merged the patterns at the waist and just basically attach the lines from the Agnes top pattern where it's sort of finished about the waist onto the Freya skirt to bring it out into an A-line skirt at the bottom. So it's quite a cute, simple dress and quite a straightforward mashup. And I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. It's really comfy to wear, and what I like about it is I love the Freya dress with the high neck, but sometimes that can be a bit too hot for slightly warmer weather. But this scoop neck is perfect for slightly warmer weather, and I think it would look really nice with a short sleeve too. And in terms of this fabric, it's a really cute cotton jersey fabric, because I think a cotton jersey works really well for both the Freya and the Agnes patterns. And it's got this heart print on, and I got this cotton jersey originally from First for Fabrics. And again, this is quite an old garment. It's definitely at least 3 years old. It's washed really well, actually, the fabrics. I have worn it quite a lot. I don't think this fabric will still be in stock, but First for Fabrics do always have a lovely range of cotton jerseys in stock, so they're definitely worth checking out. But yeah, it's quite a straightforward mashup, one of my early mashups. Really nice and comfy to wear, and definitely one I would like to try again. So my next pattern mashup that I've got to share is a woven dress pattern mashup. And this one was a little bit more involved to put together than my Agnes and Freya jersey dress pattern mashup, where I pretty much had to connect the lines from the Agnes top onto the Freya skirt for the front and back pieces, and that was all I needed to do to combine those patterns. This one required a little bit more thought. And for this one, what I decided to do was turn one of my favourite shirt patterns into a shirt dress with a gathered skirt, because I do love a dress with a gathered skirt, and I thought this pattern would look really nice if I did that. And the pattern I used for the shirt top part of the dress is this pattern here, which is the Calais shirt and shirt dress pattern by Closet Core Patterns. And I really love this pattern, and I've made a couple of versions of the shirt, and there is a shirt dress option to this pattern too, which is down here, but it's a kind of straight fit shirt dress, not one with a gathered skirt, which is what I did for my pattern mashup. But yeah, these are the line joints for Calais. It's a really nice, relaxed fit, easy to wear shirt, and it comes in quite a few options, so you can have a lot of fun sort of picking which different options you want and matching them together. There are two different collar options, a full collar and a band collar. At the back there's a yoke, and underneath the yoke you can add a pleat, either a sort of classic box pleat or an inverted V pleat. And then there are different options for the button placket too. You can make a full sort of standard button placket, a pop-over placket, or a hidden placket. So loads of options built in, and a really nice and relaxed casual shirt to wear, and a really nice one to sew to. And this pattern has a great size range as well. Again, like with the Charlie caftan, I've got the paper pattern, which goes from a US size 0 to a US size 20, but there's also a PDF version that goes from a 14 up to a 32. So yeah, I use this pattern for my top of my shirt dress, and then for the bottom of my shirt dress I borrowed the skirt from this pattern here, which is a fringe dress pattern by Chalk and Notch, a pattern I really, really love. And it's got a really cute skirt on this pattern. I'll show you the line drawings. It's a really pretty shirt dress pattern in itself, and the skirt is a gathered skirt with this lovely curved hemline at the bottom. And I've made a couple of versions of the fringe dress as it is, but I thought it'd be really fun to put a different top on it and turn it into something a little bit new and a little bit different. So I'll show you my shirt dress that I put together using those two patterns, and I'll explain a bit about the changes I made to make them work together. And here is my shirt dress. As you can see, it's got a Calais top here with a button placket, I've gone for the band collar. It's got the yoke at the back here, you can see if I put it up closely. And I've attached on the fringe dress skirt, and it's got the curved hem at the bottom. I'll stand up so you can see. I also added in waist ties to cinch it in a little bit around the waist, just to add a little bit more shape to this one. So for this pattern, what I needed to do was I decided to use a full button placket because I thought that would work best attached to a skirt. I thought it would look a bit weird with a pop over placket and a skirt attached. And I used the exposed button placket, so I've got these nice buttons that sort of tone in with the fabric. So I cropped off the Calais shirt, and then what I needed to do at the back, what I decided to do at the back was remove the pleat, because I thought that wouldn't lend itself so well to kind of then pulling into a gathered skirt. So I had to adjust the pattern piece to remove the pleat at the back. I think the pleat gives a nice amount of volume if you are wearing it as a shirt or a shirt dress, but yeah, I thought it would be nicer to have a simple streamlined back to go into this gathered skirt. So those are the main changes I made. I then adjusted the length to kind of bring it to about my natural waist, because I thought that'd be a nice place to pull it in, and added the waist ties, and then it was quite easy to gather the skirt to meet the width of the Calais shirt at the front there. So yeah, this is my version, and I really love wearing this one. And the fabric I use for this one is a cotton lawn fabric, which I think works really well for a shirt dress, and I love sewing with cotton lawn too. This is the Lady McElroy cotton lawn, and I think this is still available at Minerva in 2 different colourways. This is a sort of peachy pinky colourway. I think it's a really pretty colour with this large scale leaf print on. And there's also a navy version of this fabric too, which I've actually also used. I made a pair of pyjama bottoms in the navy version, and then I had some scraps left over of both those fabrics, so I went on to make a colour block top as well. So I really do love this fabric, and I'll link it down below. But yeah, the cotton lawn works really nicely for a shirt dress, and I really enjoyed putting this passion mashup together. I think it's just a really cute, different shirt dress, and I like that, yeah, I made it using 2 patterns I already had to create a totally brand new garment. And I'll put up a picture so you can see what it looks like on. It's really nice and comfy to wear because the Calais top is quite nice and loose and breezy, and I like how the waist ties do give it a bit of extra shape. And in terms of sizing, when I make the Calais shirt and shirt dress, I always size down, and I always make the size 0, which is designed for a bust of 31 inches, a waist of 24 inches and hips of 33 inches. So that is smaller than me on all 3 measurements. But when you look at the finished garment measurements for this one, you can see there's plenty of ease built in. It is designed to be quite oversized. And particularly when I was doing my pattern mashup, I knew I was going to want to cinch in the waist with waist ties. So I didn't want it to be too oversized on the top. I didn't want there to be too much fabric there. So the size 0 worked really well. And there's still enough room for me to be able to pull on the dress over my head. I don't actually have to use the buttons. I did make proper buttonholes, but they are really aesthetic because I can just pull it on over my head and then sort of cinch it in with the waist ties. So that size seems to work really well. And I should also mention the sizing on the fringe dress. The fringe dress has a really great size range too. It's available in a size 0 to 30 US sizing, and it comes in 2 cup sizes too, a B cup and a D cup. But I really enjoyed putting this mashup together. I love a dress with a gathered skirt, and I think the Calais and the fringe dress work really well together. My next pattern mashup that I've got to share with you is actually one that kind of came together by chance. For my first 2 pattern mashups that I shared in this video, it was very much the case that I wanted to combine the patterns, and I went about combining them, and that was my plan. For this one, I ended up combining 2 patterns to sort of fix something that had gone wrong with my initial garment, and I do love it how sometimes combining 2 patterns can help resolve an issue you have with the garment and make it into something different and new and better. And the pattern I originally started with for this pattern mashup was this pattern here, which is the Linden sweatshirt by Grainline Studio. And it's a really nice, sort of simple, classic sweatshirt pattern. You can also make a t-shirt version too. It's got raglan sleeves and a round neck. It's got cuffs and a bottom band. It's quite a simple sew, and it's just quite a nice, classic, simple sweatshirt. In terms of sizing, it hasn't got the best size range ever. It goes from a US 0 up to a US 18, and the largest size is a bust of 44 inches on this one. But I'd made a couple of versions of the Linden sweatshirt, which I really liked, and I went on to make another version, but something went wrong with the sweatshirt, and I ended up stretching the neckline out. I think it was my sewing rather than anything wrong with the fabric or the pattern. And I just really wasn't happy with it. It didn't sit right, it didn't look right. So I decided to have a go of combining the Linden sweatshirt with another neckline from another pattern, just to turn it into a new garment, and I ended up being really pleased with it, and it turned into, I think, quite a cute and different jersey top. And what I did was I took off the neckband that was stretched out on the original garment, and I ended up adding on a neckband that comes from this book here, the Tilly and the Button stretch book, which I mentioned earlier. And it's a neckband that actually is part of the Freya top pattern. So as well as the mock neckline you can make on the Freya top, it also comes with a roll neck option and a cowl neck option. So here is the cowl neckline version of the Freya. As you can see, here's the line drawings of the dress with the cowl neckline, and here's the modelling the dress version too. And these are the pattern pieces you need for the cowl neckline. It does take a bit more fabric than the mock neckline, but it's a really nice option. And I'd made a jersey dress using the cowl neckline and the Freya pattern before, and I knew it was really comfy to wear and hung really well. And I thought it'd be perfect to hide a slightly stretched neckline and also make for a really cosy sweatshirt. So here is my pattern mashup of the Linden with the Freya cowl neckline. As you can see, it's got this really lovely cosy cowl neck. It's got the raglan sleeves of the Linden and the cuffs of the Linden, which I went for in this black ribbing, which is the original fabric that's stretched out around the neckline. At the bottom, I've got the bottom band. I ended up actually taking off the black ribbing bottom band and lengthening it and using the actual same fabric. I just thought that would look better on my slightly hacked version. But it came out really well actually, and it's really, really cosy to wear, and I'll put a picture up of me wearing it so you can see what it looks like on. It's definitely one I reach for on a cold winter day. And in terms of this fabric, this is a French terry fabric that I got from First for Fabrics, with this really pretty leopard print on these sort of silvery colours. Again, it's one of my older pattern mashups, so I don't think this fabric is in stock anymore, but I will link First for Fabrics down below in case you fancy checking their website out. And in terms of sizing, when I make the Linden sweatshirt, I always make the straight size 0. That is designed for a bust of 32 inches, a waist of 25 inches and hips of 35 inches. So it comes at 1 inch smaller than me on the waist and hips. But I find the Linden has quite a boxy straight shape to it, so I've never felt the need to grade out on this one. And then in terms of combining the Linden sweatshirt neckline with the cowl neck from the Freya, I find they came together really well. They both have some stretch to it, so even if there's a slight size difference, I could kind of ease them together, and they fit together really nicely. And it's a really nice, cosy, comfy sweatshirt to wear, so it ended up being a sort of happy accident that I stretched the neckline out on the original Linden, because I really like how it looks with the Freya neckline on. It's a really lovely, cosy pattern hack for winter. So the next pattern mashup I've got to share with you is another one that I plan to put together, and it's another woven dress pattern mashup, but this one's a little bit more wintry than my Calais fringe dress mashup. And for this mashup I decided to use the main body of one dress pattern, which is this one here, the Bakerloo blouse and dress pattern by Nina Lee, which is a really pretty blouse and dress pattern. I'll show you the details of it. It's essentially a dress with a gathered skirt, which I do like. And it's got a couple of really pretty features. First, this oversized collar with a ruffle around the edge, and then these balloon sleeves with a ruffle on the bottom. This pattern comes together really nicely, and I made this version here before with the oversized collar. I did make an adjustment to bring in the sleeves because I thought for me, if I made the oversized collar and the balloon sleeves, it might be a bit too much. So I made my version originally with slightly narrower sleeves. I really like the whole fit of the dress, where the darts fit and where the waistline sat and all that sort of thing. So I wanted to use this dress pattern again. I should mention before I talk about my mashup, the sizing on this pattern. It's got a really good size range. There's a UK 6 to 20 size range, and then a UK 16 to 28 size range. And the UK 6 to 20 is designed for a B cup, and the 16 to 28 I believe is designed for a D cup. So yeah, a really nice size inclusive pattern and a really lovely one to sew up. And I fancied making another version because I really love the whole shape of this dress. But I quite like the idea of making one with a slightly more understated collar to it. So I decided to switch the collar out from this dress and use the collar from a different pattern. And the pattern I chose to use the collar on is this pattern here, which is the Sudley dress pattern by Megan Nielsen Patterns. And it's another pattern that's available as a blouse and a dress with a gathered skirt again. It's got some really pretty details, this pattern, including this sort of cut-out keyhole neckline where you can add ties to it too. And I've made a couple of versions of this pattern as a blouse, but I'd never actually used the collar on it. And this is the collar here. It's a kind of Peter Pan collar, and as you can see, it's a lot more subtle than the Bakerloo oversized ruffle collar. So I thought it'd be really cute to borrow this collar, but add it onto the shape of the Bakerloo dress, which I knew I really loved. And in terms of sizing on the Sudley, again, it's got a really great size range. I've got the old style pattern here actually, so the sizes on here are now out of date, but it now comes in a size 0 to 20 and a size 14 to 30. But yeah, I thought it'd be really fun to try combining that collar. And here is my pattern mashup dress that I put together using the Bakerloo pattern with a Sudley collar. Oh, that's the back, here's the front. And I made it in this really beautiful viscose fabric by Atelier Brunette. I think this is still available at Minerva, so I'll link it down below. It is such pretty fabric. I think the back colourway on the base colour is a very, very deep navy blue. I think it's their night colourway, which is so deep navy blue it almost looks like it's a black. And it's got these really pretty patterns on it in this sort of taupe and burnt orange colours, which I think is a really nice colour combination. So this is my mashup dress. I went for the narrower sleeve option again, like I did on my first Bakerloo, just by taking the sleeves in and a simple elasticated cuff without the extra ruffle. It's got the gathered waistline, and it's got pockets here at the side, I think somewhere, if I can find them. There they are. Oh yeah, I remember I didn't have enough fabric on this one, so I ended up adding sort of cute sort of feature pockets that you can see a flash of if I open them up, which I thought were quite fun. And I've also got waist ties added in to cinch in the dress a little bit. And you can see here is the Sudley collar on the Bakerloo dress. So I think it creates a really cute little shape with this Peter Pan collar. And then round the back, it's got the Bakerloo fastening at the back, which is a button fastening with a rouleau loop at the back. So that is my pattern mashup dress, and I'll put a picture up so you can see what it looks like on. I really enjoy wearing this one. I do like how the collar's a bit more subtle, so it doesn't feel like such a statement dress, and I think it lets the fabric really be the star of the show on this one. In terms of combining the two patterns, the two dresses did have a slightly different shaped neckline. So what I did is I sort of traced the Bakerloo neckline onto the Sudley collar and adjusted the Sudley collar pattern pieces so they fit onto the Bakerloo neckline. I thought that would be the easiest way of going about mashing them together. And it was quite straightforward. I just had to redraw the line of the collar slightly on the Sudley just to make sure I had the same sort of width all the way around and kept nice and even though the shape of the neckline was slightly different. And then I pretty much followed the instructions of the Bakerloo in terms of how to attach the collar, but just using this different Sudley collar instead. So I really enjoyed doing this mashup. It was nice to sort of take a little feature from one pattern I liked and pop at another one, and I think the dress has turned out really well. Oh, and in terms of sizing, all my sizes are based on the Bakerloo pattern, since that's what I use for the whole shape of the dress. And I find that Nina Lee patterns come up quite true to size. So I went for the size 6 on my bust, and then I graded out to an 8 on the waist and hips, and that was purely based on my measurements. And yeah, just really love that dress. It's one I'm looking forward to wearing when the weather gets more wintry again. So my next pattern mashup that I've got to share is another one that's a bit like my Linden sweatshirt cowl neck Freya mashup. This one came about where I made a pattern that didn't turn out exactly as I wanted, and I ended up borrowing a pattern piece from another pattern to sort of save the garment. And like I mentioned before, I love it how you can sometimes mash up patterns and make something better that works better when something doesn't originally turn out exactly as you'd wanted. But this one is a woven skirt pattern that I originally started with, and it's actually one of my favourite woven skirt patterns. It's this one here. It is the Estuary skirt pattern by So Liberated, and it's a really lovely woven skirt pattern. I'll hold it up so you can see how it looks. It's a gathered skirt pattern with quite a full swishy skirt. It's got a button placket down the front, and the waistband has a flat front but an elasticated back. So really you can just make a faux button placket on this one, because you can easily pull the skirt on and off because there's got this stretch at the back from the elastic. Then you can either make it with patch pockets or inseam pockets, and you can make it in a variety of different lengths too. And it's got a really good size range, this one. It goes from a size 0 to a size 30. And I'd had my eye on this pattern for a while before I decided to make it, and I was really looking forward to making it. This is my first version I tried to make. But it didn't go quite to plan because of my fabric choice. So for the fabric for my first estuary skirt, I decided to order a really lovely cotton linen blend fabric. I got it from Fabric Godmother, and I really loved the fabric. I loved the texture of it and the colour and everything. But it didn't end up being the right choice for the estuary skirt because it was quite a sort of weighty fabric. And once I sewed it up and gathered it all in the back with the elastic and the waistband, it ended up far too bulky. It didn't feel right at all. I also decided to make the skirt midi length, which is a new length for me at that point, and it didn't really feel right on me either. So what I decided to do is to hack the skirt off to turn it into more of a mini length skirt. And then I decided to borrow the waistband from another skirt pattern to make it sit better and not end up so bulky around the back. And the waistband I borrowed from this skirt pattern here, which is the Megan Nielsen Brumby skirt pattern, which is another woven skirt pattern that's a gathered skirt. It's really cute. I'll show you the line drawings. There are a few different options. It has these really nice oversized pockets. And to get in and out of this skirt, you use a zip at the back. It's an exposed zip, and I've made a couple of versions of the Brumby skirt with the exposed zip, and it's a really nice feature. But what I decided to do for my combined skirt, which I'll show you here, here's my combined estuary skirt with a Brumby waistband in this lovely cotton linen fabric, which you can see has a really pretty texture to it, but is quite thick, is I basically took apart the skirt waistband and added on a simple fitted waistband from the Brumby skirt, which has quite a nice contoured waistband to it, kind of comes in a bit, so it really hugs your body. And instead of using the exposed zip at the back, I created one piece at the back and 2 pieces at the front using the Brumby pattern pieces, and then I decided to secure it at the front with the buttons as intended on the estuary skirt. So luckily, when I'd made my estuary skirt, I had made a working placket, because I do need to be able to open it up now because I haven't got the elasticated waist to get into, so all these buttons can be opened. And I added 2 extra buttons on the Brumby waistband just so I can open it up there and get in and out of it. I thought one button wouldn't work quite well, and I had extra buttons left over because I chopped off the bottom of the skirt, so I had a few to play with here at the top. So that's how my hat skirt turned out. So it's got the Brumby, it's got the estuary skirt gathering, it's got the estuary skirt patch pockets here, which I did end up actually making it a little bit more narrow to take them in on this sort of shorter skirt. And it's got the Brumby waistband, so it sits nice and flat and not too bulky around the waist. On the inside, I was quite thrifty on this one. I used some fabric from an old pair of pyjamas of my husband's. I'd cropped off into pyjama shorts because they'd gone threadbare at the knees. So this is the bottom of his pyjamas I borrowed for the inside this waistband, which I quite like that I've used that too. So here is my hat skirt, my pattern mashup of the estuary skirt down here with this lovely button placket and a nice full sort of skirt, but with a fitted waistband so it doesn't sit too bulky around my waist. And I'll put up a picture so you can see how that looks like on. In terms of sizing on this one, Megan Nielsen patterns all come in 2 size ranges, a 0 to 20 and a 14 to 30, so they're very size inclusive pattern brands. And I find the Brumby skirt is quite true to size. The waistband is designed to sort of hug your natural waist. So I went with my waist measurement on this one, which I think put me at a size 4, and I find that sits really nicely, so that's the size I use for the waistband. In terms of the estuary skirt, again, I find it fairly true to size. And if you are making the estuary skirt, there's a bit of wiggle room anyway, because it's got an elasticated waist at the back. You can kind of alter the size a bit at quite a late stage when you're adding that elastic in. But yeah, I think I went pretty much with my size based on the measurements of both those patterns. And I'm really pleased with how it came together in the end. I was really disappointed when I made this version of the estuary skirt originally that I'd chosen the wrong fabric and it didn't sit right and was too bulky. So I was really happy that I could borrow this Brumby skirt waistband and save this garment, and I really enjoy wearing it now. So it ended up being quite a successful pattern mashup. So I've got one more pattern mashup to share in this video, and this is a really recent make, and I made it especially for the Sew Mashup challenge. When Sally and I were talking originally about the challenge, we thought it might be quite fun if we each created our own mashup garment to share when we launched the challenge, and maybe give a bit of inspiration to people or a starting point for them to think about their own mashups. So I made this dress, and I won't talk about it in too much detail in this video because I did a separate video which I posted last week where I shared all the details of the Sew Mashup challenge, the sponsors, and also all the details of this dress and how I put it together. But I thought I'd show you the dress and put a little picture up of how it looks, just so you can see what it looks like, and then you can always pop over to that video if you haven't seen it already to find out more. So this is my pattern mashup dress here. That's the front and that's the back, and I'll put up a picture as well. But as I said, I'll link that video down below in case you want to hear more about which patterns I use for this dress and how I put it together. So that pattern mashup brings me to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed hearing a bit about some of my favourite pattern mashups. I really enjoyed revisiting them. It definitely makes me think I'd like to try some more, and I think I'll get loads of inspiration this month with all the entries into Sew Mashup. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all the patterns that people decide to combine. So thank you very much for watching this video. As ever, if you've enjoyed it, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, thank you very much for popping by. It'll be great if you would consider subscribing, and if you also press the bell icon, it means you'll be notified when I bring my future videos out. So thank you again for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you again soon. Bye!